It's the penultimate round of the GT Sprint Challenge here on RCI Fridays. Just 2 rounds to go, and the most daunting task on the schedule slated for today. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by not Will Stevens' father, Les Stevenson, and Stewie, as always, on the cameras. Les, we're at the mountain. You communicated to me prior to going live tonight. You love this racetrack. Why?
I absolutely do, Jesse. I absolutely love this track. The reason I love it is it's just that it throws that curveball every single race. I get the exhilarating thrill of going through Skyline and then through the S's as we're doing right now on spring, down into the Dipper and then into the Forest Elbow. And then you've got that long Conrod straight down into the Chase, then down into that final corner. But yeah, I absolutely love this track. Fast, exhilarating, and always creates a good race.
Well, you are not kidding. We were here on Wednesday with the Diamond Drive Cup, and it was a 90-minute race. It came down to the final few minutes to decide most of the podium positions. I think you're spot on. I think we're going to get almost, if not the exact same result here today in our race.
Yes, and it's well, as you see, we've got a new driver in the champ as well with Anor Rose, and great to see what she can get, where she can come in the order as well. And yeah, no, I think it's going to be a great race, and conditions are great. Bit hot, but nothing else you'd expect at Bathurst.
Yeah, it is fairly warm, and by fairly warm, I mean Australian summer temperatures. Maybe not quite that, as it gets over 100 something degrees Fahrenheit. It's only 42 degrees C, 34 ambient. It's still incredibly warm, warmer than you would like it to be for maximum grip today. We saw a lot of cars out there on fuel runs. Les Stevenson, what does that tell you if they're here in practice after having all week to prepare and they're out here doing runs on race fuel?
Maybe not got as much practicing as they'd liked, but or the temperatures are slightly different to what they were expecting. I don't know, Jesse, but yeah, maybe leaving a little bit late, but better late than never, I suppose.
I reckon that it's them getting their eye in, making sure that what they unloaded the truck with is actually what they have. And of course, now as we come down to the final moments, most teams have put in quali fuel, preparing for the qualifying session. Here more than anywhere else, I feel like qualifying can be impacted by a crash, especially over top of the hill. One car gets sideways. That's all it takes. The track's blocked after that point.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare going, especially like you say, going through like the S's or where they've got closing walls. Get one guy start to lose the car, and before you know it, you've got a massive pileup.
We saw Justice here take a evasive, or that wasn't Justice at all, in fact, but nearly going off the track there as well. It's going to be an interesting qualifying session, folks. The points championship is absolutely tight, and I don't think we're going to get an answer for a champion here today. It's almost certainly going to go down to a final round next week. Of course, this week we're in Australia at the mountain, Mount Panorama, Bathurst, and the finale at Silverstone. And those are your only 2 rounds. Today, I think, is only going to stir the pot.
I would have to agree, and we say it each week. We think, oh yeah, it looks like we've got a clear person that's starting to go out and take a lead. And we first of all thought that with Joe McCauley, of course, and then that all sort of turned its head at Suzuka. And before you know it, we're now into a position where we've got even in the top 10 are so close. Certainly in the top five, very close.
And with practice over, qualifying is underway. We didn't even talk about it. It's only 10 minutes. That is a short session around a fairly large racetrack. Takes you the better part of 2 minutes, maybe a few seconds over to get around this joint. So 10 minutes. You cannot waste your time in validating laps, resetting around here.
It's very much like Suzuka and Spa tracks like that, where you've got that 2 minute lap times, and yeah, you really just got to get out there, get the bank lap in first, and then try and push on from there. And I'm just wondering who's your money on, Jesse, for this qualifying section?
Well, I will say that very pink car that you see there has thrown a monkey wrench into my plans. But if I had to guess, you're going to have to pay attention to Anal Rose in the Queen's Design 56 BMW. That's the pink car, but don't look past Savalainen. That is the red AMG in behind. Both those cars are going to be rapid today. The question remains for me today, and I think for everybody, is what can Joe McCauley do? Of course, McCauley's in a Porsche, not the most stout car around this joint, but we've seen them be able, especially on the mountain section that you're on now, to be able to put time on and hold off opponents. What can some of the competitors in the Porsches do today? We're going to have to find out. Levitate off the rear wing. I like it. Some sponsorship going on there with Anal Rose's Queen Design car. They showed up for Diamond Drive Cup in Season 3 with 4 Queen's Design teammates, all with very, very similar racing schemes.
That's
And
brilliant, Jesse. Car
yeah,
begins here on the front splitter. That's brilliant.
oh dear. Did I just say that this is Ricky Bobby levels of sponsorship?
I agree with you there. Definitely. I have to agree with you there. I'm just wondering, Jesse, you're saying the Porsches not so great around this track notoriously anyway, and they do struggle down that Conrod straight into the chase. They do you often find they get caught coming down the straight, but they're great around the mountain section, like you said, and it'd be interesting to see what Joe can do with the Porsche around here. But I've got to say, I'm probably with you, really, Jesse. I think Southampton's going to be the one to watch for the qualifying, and I'm really interested to see how Rose gets on. Yeah, let's see what happens.
Certainly so. Riding on board just shows you how tough this track is as we go through the cutting and now through Reed Park. And then before you know it, we'll be at Solomon Park and then McPhillamy Park. All of these very twisty corners. And then, of course, the ever famous skyline. We get to that section, you're going to see a lot of cars off on both sides of the asphalt and cutting through Skyline as well, down through there and through the S's. Very tight technical section. The best advice I ever got from professional drivers around here was turn before you see the corner, and you should be just about right. Never was it. And through Forest Elbow and down the Conrad Straight, named thusly because I believe a car, was it a Ford perhaps, threw a connecting rod out of the engine block down the straight one back in the 60s or something.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't surprise me. Well, first of all, back in the 60s, engines weren't so reliable, but equally, the engines are getting up to high RPMs down that Conrod Straight, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen then.
We're going to get our first look at a lap here. Joshua Allen, the Team Ballas Esports team, with different colors, if I'm not mistaken, for the Ballas Esports team, and that's a 202.297. That was almost the mark for Labus, but Rose comes across a 201.777. All lucky sevens for Anal Rose. Savalainen in second place now with 0.2 off of that pace. And that was pretty decent from Anal Rose. Again, has the experience, the esports driver, and on top of that as well, won the Diamond Drive race on Wednesday, and it wasn't even close. So also has reps this week, but this is one of the drivers we're looking at, Joe McCauley in the 18, the hashtag blame Mike Jones Porsche, the old Porsche as well. What will it do? And it will go immediately to the top, a 201.245. I had forgotten, Les, that he was in the old Porsche, and I think that might be to his benefit.
Yeah, although I have been reliably informed the new Porsche apparently is faster on the straight nows, but yeah, it's that's a good time. Hey, it's a good time. I mean, certainly a good banker lap, that's for sure.
That is definitely a banker lap and a half. I would expect at least a couple of these teams to get into the 2-minute dead. Well, yeah, I still think they can do it. It is a bit warm for that. Hello, everyone in chat. Welcome into round number 5 of the Friday GT Sprint Challenge. We hope wherever you are in the world, you're doing well on a Friday night, and we thank you for spending a little bit of it with us. Stephen asked, who's to blame for these track temps? I believe that would be God or Mother Nature.
Yeah, I mean, they are quite warm, but then we are in Australia. This is probably spring temperatures for them, and yeah, maybe at the slightly end of spring, but yeah, it's not uncommon to see even higher temperatures than this. So I'd say this is pretty good going, really, for Bathurst.
Yeah, it's not actually too bad. I mean, it is warm. You're not going to get maximum grip, but also it's not unheard of. It's also probably why they host their big races in what would that be? That well, no, that actually would be their summer. Now that I think about it, in January.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's easy to forget, isn't it? Being down under.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it's all upside down to me, and you have to think upside down. It's a whole thing. Joe coming back to the line now. Surely not going to go faster. Probably is though.
well, it's Joe, so if anyone could do it, it probably will be him with the shorty posts. Look at that, Jesse. You're not far off 2:01:090. So yes, extremely close now to the 2 minute barrier.
I will say that was a disgusting lap by Joe McCauley. Did a 2:01.2, which was already the fastest lap, and says I got one better. Does a 2:01.090. And I don't think Joe will take any further part in this session. They have called it quits. They have went to the pit lane. I don't feel like we'll see them come back out. Gratis Caracas for Volante Racing, 2:02.095, good enough for P4. As there are a lot of drivers, as we expect, to be grouped up. Martin Lawrence up to P8 now, 02.652.
Yes, and Ainor Rose up to second, and Stavaline in 9/10 off Joe's time. It's bit of a surprise to see him that far back, but let's see what we can do in the last 2 minutes here.
This is one of the cars that I'm watching as well. Tadas, the TJ Porca Racing 38, in a very unfamiliar spot, all the way down in 18th. The eagle eyed among you will have noticed that they have not set a valid time. I believe it was Tadas, might have been Justice, but I'm pretty sure it was Tadas that sat in pit lane for an extended period of time in this qualifying session. We'll see if they get a lap on the board here. Looks clean to me. Just a question of what will it be, and it is a 2.547, good enough for 8th.
Yeah, it's a good time, and Stavaline goes second there with just over 3/10 off Gourley's time, and yes, looks like Menno Crozen's not going to qualify today. I'm still in the pits at the moment. Yeah, no, it's good to see there from Super Vicious, and still like 1.5 seconds off though. It's might be these temperatures affecting some of the drivers' times here, but yeah, it's still quick times.
Tell you what I was wrong about. I was wrong about old Joe McCauley, front row Joe, I call him. He is in the chase now. I think he's actually going to get another shot at this, another lap, potentially trying to go into the 2-minute dead bracket because he did make it. I did not think he would have time, but he certainly has done. Minnow Crozen, you talked about not running a lap. Of course, here's Justice is trying to run a lap, but Minnow on purpose has not tried to run one, and we called Minnow Crozen the smartest man in the paddock.
And he may well be. We'll often wait to see of the first lap, and I wonder if that's what the tactic there may be. Try and miss out on that possible mess on the mountain. But I mean, it's a risk to play, though, isn't it? Really, starting last.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a huge risk. I actually, believe it or not, I don't favor starting last here because the track can become clogged, and all you're going to do is lose time hand over fist. Justice does get a lap in, becomes our first driver to finish qualifying P17 for the 330. Rose will come across the line, and that was an improvement for Rose by about a tenth or so. They stay third place. What does Savalainen have? The getting slower every day AMG, which is a complete fabrication and a lie. We'll see if this lap is fabricated or not. Looks pretty decent. A pickup of a tenth, a 201.342 breaks them within a quarter of a second of front row Joe McCauley. Joshua Allen trying to get back inside the top five here, coming down the Conrad Straight.
Yeah, coming down into the chase and where the BMW is quite good around here, and yeah, we see what you can get in the last sector here. But no, it's great to see a mix, real mix actually in this field, and see Joshua come around this last corner, the Murray's corner. Real heavy curve on the outside here, and across the finish line. Got the P4. That's impressive. P4, nice one.
That's definitely more like it. Oh no, one of the Porsches. Was that Joe? That was Joe McCauley. What matter of things has happened to Joe McCauley? They may have been on a decent lap. We'll never know. They don't get to complete it. Let's take a look. Oh no, Joe had already ruined his lap, and he was. I don't know if that was in anger or what, but I would be careful doing that in front of other cars that are still trying to finish their lap. That is the 171 of Martin Lawrence, race car Jesus. He did cross the line for a spot inside the top 10. The results of qualifying confirmed. Joe McCauley, the fastest first and second sector. Savalainen will start second. Anal Rose third, with Allen fourth. Caracas, Borgosman, Anafrev, Levchenko, Deepers, Lawrence, your top 10. You got to go all the way back to P12 to Jorison for the quickest third sector. Very impressive third sector from the 98. We told you that the championship was very close. Well, let's dive a bit deeper, shall we? Borgosman with 203 points leads your championship. The Brazilian driver in the 240 McLaren. Second place, Savalainen, 199 points, only four behind. Joe McCauley on pole today, but that round where he scored no points has been creeping into the back of his mind shortly, but 175 for Joe McCauley. Of course, he has a few more than that now because he has qualified on pole, and that gets you additional bonus points. Got a shooting vicious in fourth place, 173, just a couple off of McCauley. Products Caracas, 154 rounds out your top five. Not alone, realistically. Morgan McCall, who told is not here today, has 143. Felix Deepers, 136. Martin Lawrence, 122. Robin Baugh, 115. Thomas Jack runs out your top 10 with 103. Well, the points do not get further away the further you go down the list. Konstantin Soldatov, 96 points. Fabio Calandrino with 84. Joshua Allen, 1 point behind Calandrino in 13th. And Sean Stridham is 1 point behind Allen as well. Wouter Billen on 80 points. Barzaghi, 72. Justice and Sim Smeets are tied with 47 apiece for 17th place. Powell with 45, and Victor Borland rounds out your top 20 with 44. Phil Jorgensen tied with Will Stevenson, not Les Stevenson's son, with 34 apiece, 1 point behind them. Jan Climbs with 33, Menno Crozen on 31, Vasily Anafrev with 25, Brian Scheckerman 14, Levchenko 13 points. The 120 has 11, and nobody else has points yet in the championship. Well, Les, with so many people inside the top 25, so very close in points, not only does that give them something to fight for the remainder of this championship, that also it increases the urgency, especially if you're fighting for a really top position like so many of these drivers are. The alarm bells have to be going off at this stage. I got to get as many points as I possibly can. Today, though, a very difficult place to get that done.
Certainly is, and as always, we talk about it most weeks. Strategy will play its part. The mandatory pit stop. It's extremely warm out there, so is there going to be any tyres changes? That's the question, Jesse. And when it comes to strategy, anyway, and you know, is there going to be that horrible drive through to some of these drivers. Where this track, not so much of a penalty, but still, I think it's something along the lines of about 19 seconds lost through a drive through. So added on top. So it's either way. But either way, as usual, you see quite often now, we're seeing Salvoline in the top the positions there on the grid. I really think he stands a good chance of battling for the win. And we've got Ain or Rose there as well, battling in the P3. Uh, Maybe even be getting the mix there and spice up what is already a great championship.
I know that Rose drove around here for 90 minutes the other night flawlessly, didn't even come close to hitting another wall, and was as fast as you might expect. It was in, I think, the 201s every single lap. It was robot-like consistency, but don't worry, Rose is not a robot. I've had them solve many of those capture things. Pick out the bus in this picture for me, Rose, and she was able to do just that. It was completely fine. Everything's copacetic there. Well, 20 cars, a little bit fewer than we were expecting, of course. We are coming down near the end of the championship, but 20 cars, more than enough to mix them up. Keep in mind the pit requirements, I believe, are just a 25-second pit stop. Don't really care so much what they're doing when they're sitting there for 25 seconds. And of course, an additional 5 seconds, the 30-second stop, buys you a set of tires. It's hot out there, Les. Will anybody think about taking tires tonight?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see at least a few drivers taking tyres. I mean, it is, like I said, the temperatures are high. It's certainly going to be a factor. Uh, it's just a case of, I suppose, also what happens in this first couple of laps. Do people take that early pit stop and then go the entire distance on that same set of tyres, or can someone like Joe eke out a good enough lead to warrant changing tyres because he's got that much time in hand? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. But it's certainly good. As always, this track always brings a great spectacle. So let's see what happens.
Well, we came on the air tonight talking about the championship and how I theorized that we wouldn't settle anything here tonight. Well, if they were to finish like they're starting, and obviously that's not how that works, but if they would do that, it would pretty much knot up the championship for the final round. It would basically be winner take all at Silverstone in 1 week's time. Wouldn't that be an absolute treat? But got a race to do before we can start handing out hardware. My biggest worry going forward in this race is Joe McCauley's Porsche lasting 60 minutes on those tires in this heat around this joint without it coming to bite them at all. But if anybody can make that work, you'd have to think it would be Joe McCauley.
Yes, although if we remember back to Suzuka, with the rear end coming around a couple of times in the 130R, I mean, was that tyres? Who knows? I mean, it could be tyres, and then obviously in this track, it could be made even worse. But let's see what happens. I mean, like you said, if anyone could do it, it'd be Joe. So I'm just intrigued to see what happens this first elapse to make sure they all get through the mountain section and then see how it pans out.
The big story this season, which is completely different than the last two Friday championships, was 2 seasons ago. We had a driver that was damn near perfect every single race, George Boothby. With his absence this season, it has been the absolute complete opposite of that. It has been every driver for themselves. Nobody has been anywhere close to perfect. In fact, I don't think any driver has won more than one race. Have we had a different winner every round? No, we have not. Joe McCauley won the first 2 rounds. That is correct. But it's been all over the place for everybody finishing on and off the podium. There has been very little consistency.
Like you said, Joe winning the first 2 rounds. I think the first round was I think he got fastest lap, pole, and won the race. Slightly different in the second race, and then, as we know, unfortunately, didn't quite finish the Suzuka race. But just that one bad result has just turned the championship completely around the other way, and we've now got, like we were saying, top 5, 6, even the top 10, really. All within a chance of finishing very high up in the standings.
What a turn it would be for Joe to dominate early and fall off in the middle. Keep in mind, we were at Zandvoort last week, didn't have a great finish there either, realistically, but at least got points, unlike at Suzuka. So it's been a really tough middle of the season. But a win for Joe tonight, a max points night, would give him an excellent shot to contest this championship in the UK in a week's time. Well, we talked a lot about Joe McCauley. Let's not count out Juna Savalainen, the man in the red and black AMG. They have the clearest shot at this championship, and it starts with this start. Savalainen only 4 points out of the championship, and as they qualified anyway, Savalainen would be your championship points leader.
And let's just hope Juna can keep it clean, keep it within those track limits, and doesn't make himself have that drive through. And this, yeah, it's really within a chance here.
Well, folks, here they go. 20 cars, 2 by 2, 10 rows deep off the final corner onto the abbreviated pit straight here at Bathurst, Australia. Thank you for joining us for continuing coverage of the GT Sprint Challenge. The penultimate round about to go green, waiting for the flag, waiting for the lights. There it is, and it's a good start from both of the front row drivers, McCauley and Savalainen. They sort it out amongst themselves. So does Adol Rose in third. Behind them, it's a log jam. Joshua Allen fighting for a position up the inside, has Karakis on the outside. Borgosman following Karakis, and even behind them, Levchenko and Anafraver side by side. Don't dare go 3 wide into 2, lads. They just about think it, figure it out. Oh, tap, a hard impact and a crash. One car going backwards. It's Borgosman. This is not what they needed.
That's the championship leader going wide there with a slight, what looks like a slight tap from Joshua. But yeah, on a bit of an unfortunate start for Borgosman. What a great start we've got at the front there. Be pretty clean. Yeah, as they come around the mountain section now. We'll watch a replay. Borgosman. Oh, there's another incident at the back there. I didn't even see that. Quite sure that was.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the 47, that was Felix Diepers, and they are the one trailing now. They're just coming through Reed Park. So I think that Felix Diepers got the worst end of that particular accident, but troubles early for your championship leader, Borgosman. They get pretty much spun sideways, and they lost, what do we reckon, the better part of 7-8 positions now. Joe McCauley, clearly in the lead of the race, took command in Hell Corner. That's turn number 1. Hasn't really looked back as Gap Savalainen by half a second. Meanwhile, back in the pack, Borgosman trying to make short work, and in fact, already has got by Labas 799, so up to P12 for Borgosman now.
Yeah, and considering the spy incident they had there on the first corners, it's good to see they're still battling there, and it's apparent of how much damage they got. The Calandrino already pitting.
Well, as long as you pit inside the window, that's fine, and he's going to make that stop very, very early indeed. That might be a good move or bad move. You know, did a race on Monday, the new Challenge Cup for Monday, and pitting early was, even though it got you out of traffic, we had 40 some cars start that race, and we had cars pit out of the middle of that pack. Thought that was the right move. Turns out it actually lost them time somehow. A late pit being the favorite for a lot of the front running cars, and it turned out to be the way to go. We'll have to see. Only time will tell what that will do for Fabio Calandrino. Meanwhile, Savalainen not letting Joe McCauley get away. Certainly both these drivers know the importance of this race for both Joe winning this race and for Savalainen at least keeping pace, the best case scenario, getting around the 18.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, it looked like Savalainen even maybe even scrubbed the wall a little bit around sort of Reed Park and Frog Hollow, but I just wonder how much damage that may have caused. Hopefully not too much, but that course really is quite quick on a straight line. I didn't think it was as quick as this, and the Mercedes is catching on the straights, but it's not as quick as I thought it would be.
Well, the AMG is running down. You can see we ride from the splitter, and now the onboard it does get a really nice run. The Porsche just sort of dies. Oh, it's a little bit wide there, forced wide, but no contact. And Macaulay is under fire. Savalainen's going to have the outside, but as long as Joe can stay there, it will be contested. But no, Joe decides to not dive down in the final turn, but instead get in line. But did that not work? Sideways out of the final corner. Ador Rose takes a look around the outside, now thinks about the inside before falling in line for turn number one. Gratis Caracas is back in this fight now, wants a shot at Rose now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great move. I mean, sticking on the outside there, through into the chicane. You knew that he was going to have the inside line. Joe tried to keep right next to him and gave him enough room. Great racing, great respect, and in the end, a great move.
Caracas trying to go around the outside. The new BMW doesn't have the best straight line speed either. The AMG outpacing on that straight and nearly getting that move off, but has to fall in line before you get up into the mountain section. Excellent racing.
Certainly is, Jesse. As you see, Caracas here really closing now on Ador Rose. It is a bit of a surprise to see the Beamer not as quick down the straights, but I mean, we all know what the Merc's like, and we said before about it munching down on the cars with that great big nose. It's not notoriously good over the mountain, but it's decent still, and it's holding well on the back there of Rose's car.
Well, a recovery from Joe Macaulay, but a position surrendered nonetheless. Juno Savalainen, the new leader of the race, the 100 AMG, runs with the team name, getting slower every day. He changed his team name to that in a bit of a struggle for him. A season or so ago, he was definitely living on the struggle bus, but has since then parked his car as the winner more often than not. And today, qualifying second, getting into the top spot. Levchenko here is going to get forced wide by the Ballas car, and they're both going to have to sort it out, and they do, as Joshua Allen hits the dirt there.
Yeah, a bit of door banging, as they say, and just hopefully they ain't got too much damage, but yeah.
Oh, well, I see. Okay.
Yeah, there was some before the chase and in the chase itself, and I don't really know. I wouldn't want to be the steward again there, Jesse, and trying to decide what that was all about. Hopefully it's maybe classed as a racing incident, let them just carry on battling, but yeah, extremely close stuff there.
I'm going to go with classic Bathurst on that one. That's exactly, that looked like a couple of V8s fighting for position down the straight there.
It certainly did, didn't they? I mean, those supercars going around here is hell of a noise, and the GT3s aren't far off, and still quick speeds as well, and it's surprising what they really can do with those muscling around here. That's what makes this track so exciting as well. You go through, like I said, this mountain section, especially over Skyline through the S's. It really is exhilarating.
Well, our broadcaster, Stewie, brought up a good point. Levchenko went over the inside curve coming down through the chase, or up to the chase, rather. And usually that's a huge curve. Our broadcaster just trying to figure out how Levchenko survived getting that curve, or actually just driving over top of it. Certainly you would expect it to bottom out, but otherwise, a nice save. Look at this! Inside of Joe Macaulay, Rose, Whitford, and Forrest Elbow. It's not going to come off, but what a move that was. A power move. Saw a little bit of weakness, but unfortunately, that's done nothing but slow Rose down as Caracas is going to go around the outside on the Conrad. The flashing lights. I don't know who Gratis is flashing. Is he flashing Joe? Is he flashing Rose? It doesn't matter. Position for Gratis Caracas there. Oh, here we go, round two.
Round two indeed, into the chase, and another bit of door banging there, and a bit of fender bending.
Oh!
And well held by Levchenko there.
How'd he do that? How'd he save that?
I don't know. I really don't know, but with Caracas there flashing his lights, it looked like he had flux capacitors on the front of his car there coming down the Conrad straight.
Well, you know what they say, you flash your lights, it adds horsepower, right? It's like push to pass. Isn't that how that works?
That's certainly how I think it goes. I mean, I certainly like to turn the lights on, like I said before, and it feels like you get an extra 20 horsepower I'll take it, Jesse. I'll take it.
Shooting a vicious racing Martin Lawrence, and looks like they're going to bring Jorson on through as well. Jorson looking for a 2-for-1 BOGO here. BOGO stands for buy one, get one free for the uninitiated. Yeah, he is going to try for it. He's going to get tapped. He's going to get spun in turn 2.
Unfortunately, it really looked like he closed the door too much, not allowing enough room for that inside Porsche to be able to make the corner. And unfortunately, looks like he's paid the price.
As something happened here. Oh, this was the replay in the Forest Elbow, and that's all it took. That slowed Rose up enough that Caracas was able to get through.
It looks like Caracas is really close on the back of Macaulay as well now. See a replay here of Jack, and I've forgotten who the McLaren was, Jesse, sorry.
That was Jorson and Jack, and I don't know. Oh, that was Jute Vicious and Jorson, but wow, very close racing between them, and maybe a little bit too close.
Thing that we don't normally expect at the mountain, like we expected before, or we were talking about before, sorry. We can see Pecco, I think, he's dropped back a little bit from Alan now, hasn't he? And I think maybe suffering a little bit of that damage from where they went over the chase curves, and like you said, how they survived that, who knows?
Well, it's very impressive. A couple of Dukes of Hazzard style slides for Arthur Levchenko in the number 11 King BMW. They certainly have saved that car from a untimely trip to the pit lane, but at what cost, you must ask yourself, as Alan is in front, but you also have to ask yourself, is Alan about to receive a penalty for rough driving? It's just so hard to tell. Rose, by the way, isn't going to let Caracas make that pass and drive away. Rose still glued to the back of the number 19 AMG. Meanwhile, Savalainen out front has a 3-second lead on Joe McCauley. As we continue to look at some of the other racers, how about the championship leader coming into the day? The 240 gained a spot or two, then decided to do their mandatory stop. So, Gozman has finished hitting for the day.
Yeah, championship leader down in P17, but made that crucial mandatory pit stop is done. It's just making sure that they don't lose too much time and see where they end up without when all the pit stops are completed. But I think it was the wise choice with the damage from the earlier incident, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Well, this race got off to a very hot start, and it hasn't necessarily settled down yet. Let's take a look at Rose. Does Rose get a nice run out of the corner? Oh, I see. Caracas hit the wall there in the elbow.
Seems like the Mercedes likes to brush the wall, doesn't it? And you know, we had Savalainen, like he brushed the wall a couple of times coming through the mountain as well. But you know, those Mercs are pretty tough. I'm sure that's probably just a little scrape.
Definitely is a little scrape. That car has several scrapes. The whole front end of that AMG is scraped as well. They have been embattled since the drop of the green flag. Steve Hughes trying to get by Martin Lawrence. Of course, Jack's trying to figure out how to get by all of them. And, of course, Martin Lawrence is trying to get back by Tadas shooting a vicious here.
Yeah, we've got a nice little train of cars going through the first corner here. And it's not the easiest of tracks to overtake on, believe it or not, even though you have got two long straights. Can be tricky, especially when you're evenly paced. But yes, it's looking like they're having a good old tussle here, aren't they?
They sure are. We've been told by the stewards to expect penalties to be coming in anytime now. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, good clean stuff there, Jack. You know, good, yeah, respect. You know, giving each other enough room to get around in quite a tight section, and they come up the mountain now.
And Rose continuing their pursuit over the top of the mountain.
I was just going to say, it's a surprise actually to see these these three so close together still, and it looks like Savalainen's really pulling away now. 2.5 seconds. Do you find with Juno Savalainen, when he seems to get out in front, he can really pull away and keep that gap, and as long as he makes no mistakes, it's almost like he prefers to be out in the lead. Bit like my dog, Jesse.
That's an interesting way to put that. Also, that's a bit concerning. That gap was at 3.0 seconds the last time I checked it, and now it's coming down. I think Savalainen had a slow lap.
Yeah, I wonder if he had a bit of an issue through the mountain, maybe a bit more brushing of the wall. I mean, it did look like the AMG is a little bit loose around the mountain. I wonder if it's where the rear end comes a little bit light as it goes over the. Yeah, was waiting. I have to wait and see if there's any replay, but yeah, he certainly lost some time there, didn't he?
Certainly has. Anal Rose, who is no stranger to the mountain and no stranger to the competition, but brand new in this championship, is only here, by the way, because of a rule that RCI had opened up this championship where you can join mid-season. See, it used to be that you could not do that. You could not join mid-season if you didn't do quali. Well, now it is possible in select applications to join mid-season, and that's exactly what Rose has done. And we've seen that happen for several drivers. I think Martin Lawrence did it once in a championship, either this season or the one prior, because of the way the championships offset. They don't all start at the same time, obviously. So it's nice to see that actually being used in the mid-season, because that's what it's there for. It's meant to allow people that potentially couldn't join at the beginning to get in some racing.
Yeah, no, it's great to see and hear, and it looks like we've got our first penalty there. Joshua Allen getting a drive through, Jesse.
Right, you are. Well, first of all, no further action for a lap 1 turn 20 incident with the 799 and the 240. Racing incident, lap 1 turn 1 between the 223 and the 19. A racing incident. A racing incident between the 223 and the 11, lap 2 turn 23. And a racing incident between the 171 and the 38, lap 3 turn 22. But a drive-through penalty for car 223 for modulating brakes to stay alongside, causing contact with car 240. Drive through car 22.
Pass here by Anil Rose getting around Caracas. That was a great manoeuvre. It looked like Caracas was a bit slow coming down the Conrod straight, and well, unbelievably, the Beamer was able to catch up to the back of that AMG and made a nice move through the chase.
That was an excellent job. You just felt like that was coming. Caracas got by Rose because Macaulay, because of the contact with Macaulay, I should say. And now the pace, being able to get back through, Rose will commence the work. They had already started. Tom Bryant, by the way, pointed out that it isn't just Anal Rose here today. It's Steve Hughes. Steve Hughes is another mid-season joiner with us today in the 107. So he actually had two of them for today. My apologies to Mr. Hughes.
Yes, and obviously staying out of trouble because we haven't seen a lot of them. But yeah, it's great to see some newcomers coming to the championship and maybe spice up a little bit. And yeah, no, it's good to see.
First 15 minutes of the race gone, and well, pretty much nothing settled. Borgosman, the leader of the cars that have pitted thus far, but the majority of the field have not pitted. Borgosman, who started well up the grid, was knocked outside the top 10 after contact on the second lap of the race, and he was P12 last we saw him, so any improvement on that based on this pit strategy will be considered a win. As far as I know, the 240 is out in space and is just about to enter turn number 2. Nobody around them. Perfect way to make pace, which is exactly what none of these drivers in this gaggle are doing.
Yeah, and we're just being pointed out as well, Jesse, that again, unsure exactly what's caused the slow lap, but you can now see the gap is definitely closing. Goes put it down to 1.8 seconds now. And is it a case of a bit of tyre wear or tyre deg, with this hot track could it be, like we said, strategy plays its part again?
It always seems to do exactly that. Additional things coming through. A warning for car 11 for avoidable contact with car 223 on lap 3, turn 22. And a warning for car 56, Anor Rose, for braking too late, causing contact with Joe McCauley. You definitely saw that. That's in between, on the straight between 19 and 20 on the fourth lap. But yeah, we saw a bit of that. So a warning to Rose.
Yeah, some of these contacts just can't be helped. But a warning and a racing incidents, they're going to happen. They're going to get it during the races when it's this close and it's tightly fought. And as we sit, we're on board with Savlon now, going up through the mountain, just trying to see if he is getting too close to these walls. I mean, they always do get close, and I'm crossing my fingers myself just watching it going through. I love this place, absolutely love this place, and nicely done through Skyline into the S's, and then down towards the Dipper, and then Forest Alvo.
As we've documented on more than one occasion, the AMG, not the best long range car on its tires. And I wonder if maybe we're seeing a little bit of that here, where the AMG is not quite as kind and it's already done some damage driving away, because certainly Savalainen was driving away from this field and now is slowly being re-caught by Joe McCauley. Or, and also, I mean, we know that Savalainen is going slightly slower. He was doing low 2-minute 2 laps. Now he's doing mid to highs, which is where everybody else is. But unfortunately, McCauley just ever so slightly catching him every single lap, as Caracas is going to pit out a P4. That's an interesting move.
It certainly is, and it's just under the halfway mark, and well, quite a lot under the halfway if actually looking at it. I wonder if he's got a bit of damage. Maybe he wants to get a bit of repair to Mero damage, or maybe the tyres have gone. You just don't know. But either way, he spices it up, and let's see where they come out. Are they going to get in front of Paul Gosman? As you said, he's the leading not laps car. Sorry, he's the leading pitted car. So let's see where Crackers does come out.
Caracas still sitting in the pit lane, and Gosman is coming down the Conrad straight right now. Keep in mind, mandatory 25-second stationary up on the jacks. Tire stop not required. That'd be a 30-second plus. There is no specific mandate to how much fuel you have to take. I think at minimum you have to have 1 liter delivery, I think. But regardless, you have to be stopped in the box for 25 seconds. 30 seconds of pit stop will get you a tire change. Will somebody try it? Maybe Savalainen take a 5-second penalty, so to speak. Put tires on that car if that is indeed the issue. And I can tell you the 19 is out in front of the 240, but only just.
And he's going to be coming out on cold tyres. Well, I say cold, but colder tyres. Going to take a little bit of time to get those back into shape, if they are the originals. But yeah, it's extremely close.
Now that's very interesting, because if Caracas was in P4 and had a little gap to P5, and the 240 of Borgosman is right behind him, and I'm talking, folks, he's on his back bumper. He is filling up the backup camera. Steve Hughes, by the way, going for an inside move here. Oh, very good driving by Martin Lawrence, who nearly lost it. He's going to hang on to the spot, but oh my goodness, that could have been a big ol' accident, as Martin Lawrence got all sorts of out of sorts.
Yeah, you can certainly look at a massive tank slapper on there, and well saved if that was the case. And, but after all that, Steve Hughes comes into pit anyway. But yeah, great stuff, and yeah, tight, close racing as always. But also, like I said, with great respect. Yeah.
Being told by Stewie now that the stop was 15 seconds slower than Borgosman's, which meant that Caracas repaired damage. Keep in mind, we saw the nose of that number 19 AMG, and that car had significant damage to the front of that machine. So Gratis Caracas has fixed that damage. That's why Borgosman's right behind them, which actually, yeah, that makes complete sense. That would have been about a 15-second gap if they came out nose to tail. Caracas fixed their damage, and I know where they got some of it, but I didn't quite spot where Caracas got all of that damage. But nevertheless, fixed now.
Yeah, and I did wonder why he was so close to the Gozman, but you just don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't have a camera on him at the time, but yeah, it's obviously to repair damage, like I said, probably through the mountain section, probably more than likely where he got the damage. And I think it's worth at this stage in the race, definitely worth getting that damage repaired and still get some good haul of points. Probably not going to be in the top 3 or 4, but going to get a good haul of points either way.
Yeah, for Borgosman, it's sort of imperative that he gets a decent points day. It doesn't have to be end all be all. You can go to the final round and fight it out there, which I think is going to happen pretty much regardless. But more points is better, obviously. And we'll see how far he can continue to climb back up. He's only 2 spots back from where he started when he pitted. And Joe McCauley has pitted out of the second place spot. Joe in the pit lane, and a couple of more reports coming in from Phil Roberts. A warning for car 223 for making a car react and move to them. So a warning for car 223, and a 5-second penalty for car 223 for forcing the 11 off the track. That on lap 4, turn 23. That's why Allen has the 5-second penalty. That will not deter Joshua Allen, the Team Ballas Esports driver. They will continue to contest Wouter Billen for the top 10. As well, he should. Now, the unfortunate part, or fortunate part, if you will, for Allen, is they have not done their pit stop yet. We'll see if what that will do to their time. Obviously, it'll be 5 seconds slower. Joe is still sitting in the pit lane, and this is Joe McCauley must have been repairing significant damage for the amount of time they were set idle in pit lane.
Yeah, that's definitely a long stop. Like I said, it must have been for damage, and it sounds like we're having that confirmed as well. So yeah, that's I mean, to hit that long, you would hope taking tires at the same time.
Uh-oh, what's gone wrong for Joshua Allen? Yep, talked about it in qualifying, that somebody was likely going to hit the dirt over the top out of McPhillamy Park, and you saw it right there. Joshua Allen has parked the car entering Skyline.
Yeah, it's a day that's gone from bad to worse, isn't it? With the drive-through and then the time penalty, and now this as well. It's just added to the insult to injury, I suppose.
I think I've just been told the 223 has retired from the race.
And now back on board with Joe as he comes
Oh,
through the mountain section.
okay, so Les, we knew that Anal Rose had contact with his car, but that wasn't the big damage. That was significant contact with the inside wall.
Certainly was, and I've obviously just caught up. It's a replay. It's I thought we were live there, but no, obviously that's where the damage came from. So, yeah, that is significant damage, and no wonder Joe was in the pits for as long as he was. And like I said, let's hope that it took tyres at the same time as we see Rose now leaving the pits. One of the first of the top 5 there to pit, and be interesting to see what happens now. It leading all the other pitters now, and I think that's where she can sort of come out now. I'm sort of guessing probably maybe it depends on if it took tyres. I suppose it's again strategy, isn't it? Yeah, let's see what happens, but certainly interesting.
Well, I was thinking in my head, and our broadcaster studio must have been thinking the same thing, because I was sitting here thinking, there's no way that little bit of contact in Forest Elbow with Rose caused that much damage to that car. Stewie must have known that as well. Immediately started looking for contact, found it immediately, and yeah, heavy contact. Lucky that was only, actually no. Stewie said that was 15 seconds longer than Caracas. Caracas had a 15-second longer stop than it needed to have been. Leader of the race, Juna Savalainen, in the pit lane. So that was about 30 seconds of damage for Joe McCauley, which actually makes a lot more sense. That was heavy, heavy contact with the wall.
It really was, and it clearly shows in the pit stop time, doesn't it? And I'm quite surprised to see Savile in the pits now. Normally it's pit early or pit extremely late, but certainly to go halfway through, unless you're thinking about changing tyres, quite interesting to see him pitting so early. To be honest, I mean I know we're halfway through, but still, it's quite an early pit stop.
I wonder if Savalainen was able to do the math or had somebody to do the math for them and noticed that Joe had fallen way down the order because of a very long pit stop and decided, well, now I'm going to pit. Or maybe it was the plan to pit at the halfway point all along. Martin Lawrence looking to the outside of Bort Gozman, can't quite get the overlap and has to fall in line as they continue their chase for a top 10 spot. Martin Lawrence is not willing to set behind Borgosman here. Goes to the outside there, and now immediately on the defensive line is Borgosman. The look at Martin Lawrence thunder down the pit straight. Might he be nearly clear by the time we get to Hell Corner? He's done it, look. Impressive move into Hell Corner. Martin Lawrence goes the long way.
Goes the long way, but he gets the job done. He's a digger, isn't he, Martin Lawrence? Yeah, great move. Good traction out that final corner and able to get the job done before T1.
That was impressive. I will apologize. Oh, contact there. Anafrave goes for a little slide.
Safe,
That
though.
was
Safe.
It was a great save. Kept it out of the wall, but contact there. Leading up to the second corner. Now, what I was going to say was I apologize to Race Car Jesus. Didn't think he stood a chance going around the outside on the pit straight, but shows how much I know.
Ye have little faith. No, he
Yes.
certainly had a good traction back. I know that Bogosman was sort of. Well, it's Jack, wasn't it? It was Jack. It looked like he was going for the defensive manoeuvre, but it was a bit early on. I wonder if it was a bit of a loss of traction, lost the rear end, and I think it was Bogosman, wasn't it? It wasn't Jack. Waffling on now, Jesse. Sorry.
No worries at all. Tadas Jutnavicius, who assumed the lead of the race, is in, and so is Minnow Crows, and so nobody will be doing the late pit strategy here. Everybody in by just about the halfway point in the race. Those two cars in the pit lane, and that should hand the lead back over to Savalainen. We'll wait and see just to be safe. Anafrave here trying to get around Borgosman and does just that with a little bit of a fight nonetheless. Vasily Anafrave up to P10.
Wondering if Bogosman's got some big damage here because they're losing positions left, right, and centre at the moment. And seem to be a bit slower than normal, and I'm just wondering if they've had a bit of an episode over the mountain. But wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, we all know what it's like here, but yeah, I mean, as we see, it's this great train of cars now. I mean, that's everyone pitted now, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's pitted, and Savalainen in the lead ahead of Rose. 3 seconds, bigger gap than I thought it was going to be, but 3 seconds, and I personally think most people have taken tyres, Jesse.
It's an interesting proposition. All I know is that Rose gained in the pit lane, surely has done, because that was bigger than a 3-second gap before the pit stop. So either way, Savalainen, who once led Joe McCauley by 3 seconds, now leads Rose by 3 seconds. Caracas up to P3. Levchenko in fourth. And Steve Hughes, our late entry, both of our late entries into the championship inside the top 5.
Now that's great to see, and it just goes to prove, even coming as late as this, we can still fight for good points and potentially a real good finish. And yeah, I think maybe because Rose didn't have any damage, able to close that gap. I didn't think it was as big as that, but yeah, I've obviously missed that one. But yeah, it's down now to 2.8. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be good right to the end. 26 minutes to go, plenty of time for a lot of action still to come, and let's see what happens.
You also have to remember Savalainen fired off real quick in that first stint and then lost a little bit of performance. And Joe, oh my goodness, Tadas just straight lines and rejoins without further incident, but might have dirty tires and get overtaken anyway by Thomas Jack. Jack's going to ground the outside. The corner is very tight and almost gets clipped, but just about makes it as Tadas now on the defensive to try and keep Vasily Anufriev behind them. But either way, Jack is through and gone. Look at this, the fight now between Tadas and Anufriev for the 8th place position.
Yeah, Duke Novicius certainly looked like he either missed the braking point or maybe got a tyre slightly on the grass on the braking sector. But yeah, unfortunately now has lost 2 positions out of that one tiny mistake.
Steven in chat's pointed out it's only gotten hotter out there. Well, it's not quite noon yet, so surely that is the case. And it's not going to get any better as this race goes on. Gap up front is sort of steady. It was 2.8. Now it's back to 3 seconds for the overall lead of the race. Meanwhile, Tadas Juknavicius has fallen back a couple of spots on this lap, a frustrating lap, where Jack and Anufriev have both got by 38 Porsche.
Yeah, and the Porsches, I'm really quite surprised. I did not think the Porsches picked down the straight lines, the straights even, not straight lines, the straights. And but they're sort of proved me wrong here today, and they're quite quick. I mean, obviously we know they're quite good over the mountain section, so actually, Porsche isn't that bad a car around here anymore.
18 cars. We started with 20. Funnily enough, we had 21 in practice. One car did not participate in qualifying. 20 official entries into the race, 18 of them remaining. And almost every position still well within a contested range. I think the biggest gap we have in the entire field between 2 cars is Rose and Caracas, that for 2nd and 3rd. No particular space. Oh no! Juke Novicius gets spun by Anufriev, or at least I think that's what happened, on a straight. Now that was not good.
I'd like to see the replay, but yeah, that wasn't great. I mean, looks like Duke Novicius got some serious damage to that car as well, and be interested to see when we do.
Oh no! Till Jorison and Borgosman. That was, I'm sorry I was silent there. I just sort of trying to compartmentalize all that. You had the spin on the straight and the spin in turn 2.
Yeah, that was a bit confusing actually what happened, but as we see a replay here of the.
Talk us through this. What happens here?
Well, looks like Duke Novicius gets that slow exit of that corner. Oh, and then we don't see the final part of the replay. Oh, are we going to see that now? Here we go. So this is a different lap. Yeah, we get a little bit of a tap there from Anufriev, and oh yeah, it looks like Anufriev just a bit too late on the brakes, and maybe Novicius coming a bit too far over onto his line.
I just think he refused to let him in. Now, this is what happened at the top of the hill. This is Tilt Jorison. Oh, and that wasn't Borgosman. In fact, that was... Oh, that is Borgosman. That was Borgosman spinning Tilt Jorison, yes.
Yeah, that was almost a carbon copy of what happened on the first lap.
It really was.
For different cars, or certainly one anyway. And it's all going on now, Jesse, isn't it? It's confusing the hell out of us.
Yeah, I'm sixes and sevens right now, Les. If I'm completely honest, I this race has what I did say was that most of the competitors are quite close, and well, that's what happens when they're quite close. Sometimes they go for a spin, but all of that, in my opinion, was completely avoidable.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that one. And like you said, though, interestingly, the only big gap we have is with the two top guys up there, pulling away from Caracas in third place. And interestingly, the gap sort of stayed the same. So maybe Savalainen has taken a bit more of an easier start to the stint on these newer, fresher tyres, is what I believe he's got, and is able to just hold that gap at a nice 3.2 seconds, which is a comfortable gap. Would like to be a bit bigger if I was in his shoes, and but yeah, it's 20 minutes to go. It's anything could change at any corner. That's what's so good
It,
about this track.
yeah, it really can. Keep in mind, Joe McCauley was in second place, had a little bit of a gap to Rose in third place, and was chasing down Savalainen. Has one little trip to the wall, and now is fighting in the bottom half of the top 10. To your point, anything can happen in any corner. It just takes here, especially around the top part of the circuit. It only takes a momentary lapse in concentration or judgment.
Yeah, it certainly does. And like we were saying earlier, it's great to see Steve Hughes up here in P5 and having a little tussle with.
Not done, apparently.
Yes, and you've got Martin Lawrence that's right up behind them now, coming into the chase, and they ran down to to Murray's corner. And I swear the Bentley's, surprisingly good. I've always said this before, and I'll say it again. The Bentley is so good on the brakes compared to some other cars, considering its size and weight. And yeah, it's an interesting car to move around some tracks, but certainly some tracks with heavy braking areas, it seems to be better.
Talk about Martin Lawrence there for a moment. Remember in the first stint of this race, the early stages, where Martin Lawrence was struggling a little bit and now threatening the top five? Fabio Calandrino here. Now, see, now that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, I do wonder if that was made a little bit easier from is that Duke Novicius, I think, and where they're just suffering with that damage. But yeah, no, either way, still nice to see the Andrea getting up there as well and making some positions.
Well, Henry Friov still trying to pick up spots. Thomas Jack in the number 16. This is for P7. No real way to pass up the mountain. Had a few more reports come in from the steward's box, but judging by the fact that there is nothing on the right-hand side of the scoring pylon, I'm forced to believe there's not been any penalties given out. In fact, there haven't. But there is a no further action for contact between the 38 and the 98. A racing incident between the 171, the 16, and the 107. No further action between the 177 and the 240. Racing incident between the 16 and the 38. Racing incident between the 177 and the 38. No further action between the 177 and the 38. What does the field have against car 38?
What does the field have against car 38? Unfortunately, it appears the car 38 just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and maybe a few little tiny bits of misjudgment calls. But that's racing, and we keep going on. And Peter Vicious is doing that right now, even though he's in P14, he's still going. Most important thing.
Yes, indeed. Never know where you might have ended up if you don't keep going. Martin Lawrence is living by that creed right now. They were pretty much nowhere at the beginning of this race, but have had a really good pit stop and found themselves knocking on the door to the top five. Just has to navigate Steve Hughes, who Martin Lawrence will have a very thin notebook on, expanding to, right about 30 minutes ago when this race started.
Yeah, it's look at this with the slipstream down that on the straight now. Oh, and he's got the move done. And Lawrence has got past Steve Hughes. That was a great manoeuvre. Come up into the cutting and around into Griffin's. Man, this bit I love this that left hander there going around the cutting there. It's when you get it right, it really feels like that left hooks you round, and it's a great feeling. But yeah, the move's done anyway, and up the mountain they go.
Yeah, if you hit these corners right, it feels fantastic. It feels like you're on rails as Jack has hit the wall before we get to McPhillamy Park.
Yeah,
And that,
and he really did hit that quite hard as well. I hope there's
yeah,
not too
that's
much damage.
significant. We'll know in a lap or so. Oh my goodness. Anu Friev nearly loses it in the S's there. And
We're get
every lap here is an adventure. But what I was going to say about to your point, Les, was that when you get it right, when you nail the line, it feels like the car's on rails. You miss it by millimeters, you you do what Jack just did.
Yeah, and it's so easily done, isn't it? And 15 minutes to go. It's an hour-long race, 15 minutes to go, 45 minutes being out there. It's going to happen. Most drivers are going to just slightly scrape the wall. Sometimes they'll pancake that wall, but it's all about trying to minimise the amount of contact we make with those walls and trying to get to the end in one piece.
Well, Vasily does win out in the end, and Jack will fall back to eighth place. 177 will take seventh for the time being. And question is, how damaged is the 16 now after that trip to very hard concrete wall? Nothing changing out front. Una Savalainen, still the leader of the race, still the Speed Juice fastest lap of the race award winner. And that's important because that's bonus points. Keep in mind, Joe McCauley got the bonus points for setting on the pole. Savalainen looking like they may take the points for having the fastest lap and the win of the race. That could set them up pretty handsomely for the final round of this championship.
Yeah, I mean every point counts. You get those bonus points as well as well. It's a bonus, isn't it? That's why it's called bonus points. But yeah, it is surprised to see Joe go down as far as he is, but still getting good points. But what's interesting is to see the top two here. They are actually pulling away from P3 Caracas. It's gone up another couple of seconds now since we last spoke about them, and yeah, it's looking like Rose just ever so slightly is closing that gap. Not that much, but enough to just keep Savalainen nervous. I would have thought.
Certainly keeping him earnest out front there because we all know what Rose knows and what Savalainen knows. If the 100 AMG touches a wall, Rose will not be very far behind indeed. Sometimes, I mean, even at this distance, we think of pressure usually in sim racing. We think of pressure by driving up right behind somebody, flashing the lights, doing all the things, psyching them out. But realistically speaking, as long as you can be seen down the straightaway or even off of every corner, that's close enough sometimes to get into the driver's head to keep them earnest and make them drive sort of bit more aggressively or cautiously, depending on the driver. And certainly Rose is within that range that Savalainen will have been taking notice. And it's a oh my goodness, that was close. It's a very pink race car. It's hard to miss regardless.
Where's the pink race car? No, it's a good paint scheme though, and wow, yeah, I did take a deep breath when I saw that going around
That was real
going around the
close.
wall there on Griffin's Mount, wasn't it? And yeah, that was it's super close, but still going, still in one piece, and still. In fact, I think that the Mercedes is just that little bit better around the mountain. BMW at the moment of Rose and eked out a little bit more, a couple of tenths there, and but yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, to go for this length of time, I know it is a sprint race. It is an hour long, and to be able to do it for an hour. And I know Savaline's had a bit of contact and repaired the damage in the pits, but just goes to prove the repair the damage is always worth it in my eyes. And any shorter race, maybe not so much, but an hour race is definitely worth it, especially with a place like this.
Very good point. I think that's sage advice right there. Till Jorson, by the way, has been sitting in pit lane for the last several laps. I don't foresee them returning. I thought maybe it was an unscheduled stop to begin with. I thought maybe they were repairing additional damage, but they have been sitting there for several laps at this point. The 17 cars still circulating now, and Savalainen leads Rose by just about that much.
Yes, like I said, I think it's just a little bit on that lap, a little bit more that Savlon got the gap there, and but like you said, can still see the pink car in the mirrors, and it's always going to make it a little bit of nervous time, especially with well, just coming up for 11.5 minutes to go, and yeah, it's keeping focus now and keeping those lines and keeping off those walls.
The other question, too, if you look up in front of the track map, is does lap traffic come into play in the final 10 minutes? And if it does, what does the likes of Juke Novicius and the 330 or Deepers, for instance, what do they do when they get caught?
Well, with Duke Novicius being so far back, I'd like to think they'd see being sensible and just go out of the way at the earliest opportunity and just make the opportunity for Savlon and Rose just to get past without holding either of them up and allow them to fight it out just between those two and hopefully only lap traffic involved. But we'll see what happens. But I would like to think that's what would happen.
Oh dear. I've just been looking at our chat, and Seb Bernier is in our chat as per usual and has made a he's made the groaner pun of the week, I think. Back whenever Thomas Jack hit the wall, he said a blind man would have said, "Hit the wall, Jack." Goodness
Yeah,
gracious. Seb, I thought you were better than this.
that sounds like a typical dad joke, doesn't it? That's the sort of thing I would come out with normally.
Well, Seb has practice about being a father, so you two outrank me in that respect, I suppose. That's why your
Well,
jokes are better.
yeah, that's what they some say anyway.
Oh dear. Savalainen out, walking out the lead just a little bit every lap, but that it may be a tenth a lap, but I'm going to tell you something to a race car driver, that is peace of mind.
Certainly is, and no, Aina's really sort of keeping him, like we said, keeping him honest, and no, maybe just I don't know, maybe 3.5 seconds is a little bit too much, but never say never. And he knows as well as anyone else that Savalainen is, like anyone else in this split is, anyone's capable of that wall and making it slightly different situation towards the end of this race. But main thing is she's there to capitalise if something does happen.
9 minutes in counting in the race, just gone noon here at Bathurst, Australia. Savalainen leads Rose and Caracas. Those are the three comfortable cars in the podium spots as Tadas is in the pit lane, and we think we know why.
And coming around the S's here, down the hill, oh, and just loses the back end. And unfortunately, that is potentially could be a retirement from the race. But I suppose now there won't be a
Oh
back.
no, we're not done!
Oh dear, that's Jack as well. And Jack's unfortunately got into the wall there. That's after cutting, isn't it, up towards Griffin's Mountain? Oh dear, there. Just caught the curb and it sucked him in. Sucked him in like a tornado.
It really did. Joe McCauley, Jack's not a big fan of that, but Joe McCauley might be because that gives them eighth place.
I learned a new word the other day, Jesse. Discombobulated. I just wonder how
Oh, yeah.
discombobulated Jack is now.
All of it. I would say all the discombobulation to Thomas Jack's 16 car. I refuse to say that team name on principle. Rose continuing to fall back a little bit, but you must say it's been an impressive debut for the late entries in the season.
Yeah, it really has. And with Steve Hughes as well. And it's great to see. And the gap is now starting to eke out a little bit more as we see Joe now trying to get past Steve Hughes, as we were talking about Steve Hughes. Maybe the years were burning, but looking like Joe's really hungry to get that position. Looking at Murray's corner now, tries to get the inside line. Hopefully, doesn't get too much curb, and gets the job done. And then, as Joe gets past, going into turn one, try not to hit any inside curve, get as much outside curve as you want, really. There, and they go now down the mountain straight towards Quarry, and yes, looking like it's damage limitation really for Joe as he picks some positions back. We've got just coming up for 6.5 minutes left of the race to go. Probably looking at about 4 laps, I think, left to go, and already starting to pull a little bit of a gap now to the Hughes and maybe catch Daniel Friev and see if they can see if Joe can get one more position. I think doable. You know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, great race so far. We've got Savalainen in the lead, and just eking out a bit more of a gap to Aina Rose, just coming up to 4.5 seconds gap now. So it looks like Savalaine's really comfortable out in the lead. As Joe hits the wall
Did
again.
he?
Yeah, he just
I
hit the
looked
wall.
away and I didn't see it.
Yeah, as he come around McPhilly Park, I think it was just maybe it was into Hicksman, but yeah, it looked like he tapped the wall there on the outside, and hopefully not too much damage. He was on a roll there. He was getting some back.
Well, hopefully, if Joe can hold on to it for another 3 or so laps, we can get home and not have a lot of damage done. It's still in front of Borgosman, by the way, and that will give them a shot at the championship. But unfortunately, Savalainen, where they are, the ideal configuration would be Macaulay of winning the race and Savalainen finishing somewhere behind Joe, and have Borgosman finish behind both of them. That would have been a very tight race. I fear Borgosman might be in second place in this championship, but it's going to be a slightly distant second place, and Joe will be in third still, but it'll be a very close third to Borgosman. But we will see how it all shakes out. We haven't got to the checkered flag yet, so let's not count those bunnies, right, Les?
Let's not do the commentator's curse either, Jesse. But yeah, it does look like Salvoline really got the grip of the lead here now, and just eking that gap out even more again. And I just wonder if maybe tyres are starting to play a bit of a part now. But yeah, it's great to see Joe McCauley getting some back, and like I said before, damage limitation, really getting some good points considering the damage that he did have early on.
Taught us after we saw that crash that they had over the top of the mountain. They have parked their car in the pit lane. They've not officially retired, but they have parked their car. You have to do 80% of the race to get points, as far as I recall. I believe Jukovic has done more than 80% of the race today. So, regardless, they will get points regardless. And of course, they were running, I believe, in 17th anyway at the time of the accident. So, no real additional harm done there. Joe trying to catch Anufriev in sixth place. And I don't know, it's a tall order, but just get there.
Yeah, I reckon, what's that, about 2 or 3 laps, Jesse, left. And it's doable. It's really is doable. And gap has closed, but with that slight tap of the wall, just wonder if it's affected some aero of the car and may not be having as good grip as what he once had.
Well, Boris Borgosman's got a spot back now, got in front of Crozen and the like. That is a decent enough finish, I think, for Borgosman to still have their name in it for the finale next week. Of course, this is the penultimate round of the GT Sprint Challenge. The final round at Silverstone in a week from now, where we will crown a champion in pro. And your guess is as good as mine, folks, at who it's going to be. It'll likely be between Savalainen, Macaulay, and Borgosman.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it? And but one sort of person we haven't really been talking about a lot is the man we were talking about at the start of the race, starting from didn't qualify, stayed in the pits. Is Mano Grozen, the Team 10. That's pretty darn impressive. Sometimes it does pay off, Jesse.
Yeah, I joked that the smartest man was the one in the pit lane on jack stands, and that was Minnow Crozen. And it did not work out for Minnow.
Maybe just kept themselves, I think, and kept out of trouble and got the pit stop done clean by the looks of it. And yeah, in the top 10 at the moment and pulling away from Jack.
Certainly now looking like they're going to trouble Borgosman for the 9th place position. 240 does not want this to happen, but you wonder how much say they will have. That car looking a little less cooperative than the Bentley. Has Joe had another issue? Certainly he has.
Oh, wow, that really is unfortunate. Coming over the top of Skyline there, down into the S's, and just the transfer of weight over to the front end, lost that rear end.
Came into the show today saying that one of the things that could bite Joe McCauley today was the very car that he entered with. Could you keep it under control for an hour? It's a difficult task. And unfortunately, today it has gone the other way for Joe, as they will lose seventh place to Steve Hughes. But I think they just about hung on to eighth. Yes, indeed. There is Joe up in front of this fight between Vergosman and Crozen.
Yeah, and this is the final lap. They're going to start now, and Joe keep in front of them. I'm confident he probably can. It's didn't look like he actually got that much damage with the spin, but who knows? I suppose we'll never know. But let's see what happens on this final lap.
Defensive maneuver in the background for Borgosman, showing Minnow that not going to get me around the outside and pin me down to the inside there. Of course, Borgosman wants a nice wide berth into two and gets exactly that. Yes, this will indeed be the last lap. The leader coming down the Conrad Straight right now. So for Minnow Crozen, it's now or never. But it might be the same thing for Borgosman. Could they potentially get back in front of McCauley and limit some damage here?
Yeah, it's well, it's every point counts, Jesse, as we know, and with it being such a tight fight at the top there, it's really is important in this last lap to try and get this going. I mean, Salvolinen's probably rubbing his hands together, really thinking those two down in ninth and tenth, or sorry, eighth and ninth. It's even better win as he crosses the line.
Well, Savalainen hasn't won a race all season. He hasn't had to. He's been the most consistent, but today he gets a dub. He's going to win it. Jonas Savalainen wins round 5 here at Bathurst of the GT Sprint Challenge. Anor Rose, a new entry into the Friday champ, gets a brilliant second. Gradis Karakis fights off all comers for third. Levchenko fourth. Martin Lawrence is going to get a top 5 here today. Incredible stuff by the 171. Anufriev in sixth place. Steve Hughes, our other late entry into the champ, might just get seventh place, and in fact does. This gaggle's coming to the line for eighth, ninth, and 10th. Macaulay, Borgosman, and Crozen, respectively. And yes, that is how they're going to finish. Behind them, Wouter Billen, Jack, Calandrino, Labus, Deepers, and Justice are going to be your 16 finishers today. Incredible scenes here. Savalainen, what a time to get your first win of the season when it really matters the most.
Yeah, great race as always with these guys, and track like this, notorious track like this, always breeds incidences and great close racing. Great race to see. Nice to see the two newcomers finishing well. Second, Steve Hughes in seventh. I think Joe McCauley might be kicking himself slightly tonight after today's result, but either way, he's still got good points in P8. Savalainen, great win, great consistency, even with a little bit of damage for the pit stop to be repaired, and yeah, good race.
Savalainen has played second fiddle all season long to the likes of Macaulay and Borgosman, but finally, probably in all likelihood, I can only assume, has the championship lead. Results of the race confirmed and not pending post race penalties this week, as we believe everybody free and clear. Savaline and Rose Caracas, your podium. Les Stevenson, it was a fraud affair. A lot of contacts that led to trips to the wall, and a lot of self induced trips to the wall as well on a very hot racetrack.
Hot racetrack, very slick racetrack, and yeah, like I've already said, some great racing. Like you said, a lot of it was self-inflicted. The walls. There wasn't actually as many incidents as I thought there would be, especially a track like this. So, like I said, great race, great result for Valvoline, and finally get that win, first win of the season, and makes for a very interesting final race at Silverstone.
Yeah, it sure was. It sets the stage. It's going to be all in Savalainen's court. Of course, he will likely be your championship leader, but Joe McCauley and Borgosman will still have a chance to have their say. What will it be in 1 week's time? We'll be right back with you here in 1 week's time to bring you the season finale. And of course, don't miss a single thing. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things. Be with us tomorrow, the third round of the RCI World Tour Endurance Championship from Laguna Seca, the 8 hours of Laguna Seca. And the one team that's dominated the season thus far is not starting on the podium or the pole position or even the top five in that race. It's going to be a very interesting start. You're going to want to be with us for that race tomorrow. Of course, the continuation of the Monday Challenge Series in a week's time, the Diamond Drive Cup next Wednesday, of course, and on Thursday, the beginning of the BMW Touring Car Championship here on RCI. And matter of fact, there's still time to sign up for that race as well if you want to run the new BMW. Was it the M2? I believe it is.
It's
That
Jesse, yeah, the
championship sign up.
M2CS.
It's going to be excellent. That championship still open to qualify. You've got about 4 or 5 days to do that. If you're interested, go to the website, racerci.com, RACERCI.com. Sign up, join the Discord, get involved. We'd love to have you on the grid. And of course, a big thank you to our partners that make this race and every race possible. Race Department, your source of sim racing news and information. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions. Driver 61 and driver61.com. You can get 25% off your driver coaching at driver61.com when you use our discount code. Driver coaching can make you faster and better driver. Fanatec.com. Feel free to use our affiliate link when you make purchase of quality sim racing hardware at fanatec.com. Doesn't cost you a thing and may help us with things like server costs. Simracing.gp. If you're tired of the pub racing scene or just can't get enough sim racing, join simracing.gp. Sign up today. Of course, signing up is completely free. Les Stevenson, final thoughts from what we saw today.
Final thoughts are, that, as always, this track produces a great race, close racing, but also instant packs up at the top of that mountain there. And yeah, no, it's certainly made for a very interesting final race of the season at Silverstone next week. And yeah, let's see if the newcomers can get involved again, stir up the top 10 order, and let's see what happens. But either way, great race and good respect between the drivers, and let's see what happens next week.
The finale in 1 week's time. Who will it be between our three top contenders? We'll have to race to find out. Until then, we'll likely see you this weekend for the World Tour, and if not, we'll see you back next Friday for the conclusion of this championship. On behalf of everyone here at RCI, the admins, the stewards, and the broadcast booth, we thank you for watching and have a good night.